Greetings, guys and ghouls, and welcome back to the podcast where we talk about all things spooky, Dial H for horror. I am your ghostess with the mostest, Shay, and today I have someone very special joining me, as I had promised. This is. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am your favorite final girl, Gina.
Gina, yay, woo! Round of applause, round of applause. All right, Gina, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on this
I'm
podcast.
honored, thank you.
Oh, good. You were very excited when I asked you if you wanted to join. So, real quick, just kind of run through some questions just so people can get to know who you are a little bit and your relationship with horror. So, how did you end up getting into horror movies and horror media?
I have a cousin named Shay, and they were a big influence for me in my life because I'm the younger cousin. And we used to have sleepovers and rent pretty bad horror movies
Oh, yeah.
from Blockbuster, and it was a great bonding experience, and still into it to this day.
Oh, yeah. That's dating us, though, by saying Blockbuster. That's dating us.
That's true. I'm sorry.
No, that's true. I do remember doing that. All the really bad horror movies we would just come across walking up and down the horror aisle and being like, let's bring that one home and see what happens with that one. So I know today we're going to talk about some of our favorite horror movies and stuff like that, but what was the first horror movie that you remember seeing?
Wow. That's a really good question. First horror movie I've ever seen. Home movies don't count, right?
No, they don't count. Home movies don't count.
Okay. I actually think it's one of the movies that's on my top 5 list.
Okay.
But it would be Signs by M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll talk more about that movie later. Yeah, so that's really awesome. Yeah, Signs is a good movie. So, yeah, we'll definitely talk about that later. Um, so if you were to pick your favorite genre of horror movie, like slasher, psychological thriller, torture porn, things like that, what would you say is your favorite?
I am a slasher girl through and through, for sure. I love and I guess I'll talk about this more later too, but I just love the idea of particularly a bunch of idiot teenagers getting together and them all dying in creative ways.
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with that at all. And slashers are very seminal. Well, I'm really glad to have you. Really glad to have you on this podcast. And, we'll talk about more movies. And going forward, we have so many great ideas for everybody. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's an honor.
All right. So, before we get into the favorite movies, I thought we would talk about a movie that came out very recently, and it's now on Peacock as of this past week. So I thought we would talk about Knock at the Cabin. I know you just watched it. I watched it last weekend.
Yes.
You just watched it like
yesterday.
So I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I'll share my thoughts too. But yeah, I wanted to get some of your thoughts on Knock at the Cabin.
Okay, well, another M. Night movie.
M. Night, yeah.
So I was ready for just about anything. I was ready for a twist. I was ready for a cameo, and I was not disappointed.
Oh, his cameo in that movie is great. He's just like on the TV in the background.
I was like, you know what? I think I will buy an air fryer.
If I didn't already own one.
I think I actually wrote down in my notes for it a specific line he says in his cameo where he's like, "Do you hear that gorgeous crispy crunch?"
I love that. Do you hear that gorgeous crispy crunch?
It's like, absolutely.
Put that on the t-shirt. Put that on the t-shirt, M. Night.
So yeah, I mean, all around good. Unlike Signs, I was really happy that his cameo was not him saying the twist of the story. So
Yeah, yeah. I thought his cameo was nice because it was a little bit more subtle than some of his other movies cameos that he's done. It was
yes.
like, oh, he's just on the TV in the background, and it's like me and my roommate, we were just like laughing when we saw that. I was like, oh, I see you, M Night. I see you back there,
You looking good.
just chilling on
Okay.
the TV screen back there.
He is, he got himself a little gig on oh gosh, what's the name of that
It's like
channel?
QVC or something.
QVC,
QVC, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, he got himself a little QVC gig on the side.
Yeah, no, I absolutely it was cool. It was cool. It was really interesting. I've talked about this before when I did my Army of the Dead episode, but I really think Dave Bautista is a great actor. I mean, I think he's a really great
Yes.
actor. He did a great job in that movie, even though like I've never read the book, and I know some people were complaining that he was too brutish for the role he was playing. Um, but
Mm,
I don't know. I've never read the book, so I guess I have no basis off that. I thought he did a great job for what it was worth.
I do too. Like honestly, he was like the gentle giant of the movie,
Mhm.
which from my understanding was exactly the goal of his character. He
Yeah.
has like, he's very imposing, but
Mhm.
he's very what's the word? Just caring and comforting.
Mhm. Very soft.
Yes.
Soft.
Soft boy.
Soft boy, yes. Favorite soft boy. No, he's a great actor, and I mean I loved him in Army of the Dead. Um I loved him in just about anything he's in, but like I know a lot of people just know him as Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's
Yeah,
nice to see him doing other things and like really shining. So I don't know, like out of all the wrestlers turned actors, I think he's probably one of the best ones. Like, I mean, no disrespect to
absolutely.
The Rock, but The Rock is like kind of a one trick pony. um, Dwayne Johnson's kind of a one trick pony, and kind of the same can be said for John Cena. Um,
Truth, truth.
he definitely like Dave Batista, he has range. He has range.
He has range and he showed it in this movie,
Mhm.
and I'm excited to see him in other films now.
Yeah, yeah. No, definitely. He's very good. Um so what did you think like overall of like just the movie in general? Like what are your thoughts?
Um, like I thought the movie overall, it was a good movie. Like it wasn't horrible or something. Um, the ending left me wanting something more or something different.
Right.
Um, it just kind of it felt weird to me,
Mhm.
like my boy Daddy Eric.
Daddy Eric.
Daddy
Jonathan
Eric died.
Groff. Jonathan Groff. King George from Hamilton for you musical buffs out there. King
Yes.
George. I was singing the song like when he walked on screen. I was like da 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 da. I love him. I love Jonathan Groff.
Yeah, Daddy Eric, he decided to be the one to like sacrifice himself for the world,
Mhm.
and it just felt, for me the ending felt weird because Daddy Andrew,
Mhm.
he's just kind of like doesn't fight it as much as he's been fighting everything throughout the entire film. He's like, "Okay, swag."
Like, all right, yeah, sure, yeah. It was kind of like weird. That was definitely like a weird thing to me too. And my roommate totally called that part too. Like from the beginning, she's like, "It's gonna be Daddy
Mhm.
Eric that has to give himself up," and I'm like, I hope not. Like I kind of see it coming, but I
My
was like, I hope not.
theory my theory though is that Daddy Eric
Hmm.
he he was like, "Listen, I'm severely concussed.
Yeah.
Like, just let me die.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna die anyways from this. So,
Hmm.
like, let's just get it over with." They said that I have to willingly die. And we know what's coming, so like, just get rid of me. And I think Andrew was also like, "Yeah, you know what? You're not gonna make it, buddy."
Yeah. It was sad. Man, those planes falling out of the sky though. I I was like, new fear unlocked. Although it's actually old fear because I've always been afraid of that, but also like new fear
Yeah,
unlocked. Like the way they were coming
just
down, they were just like,
dropping.
like it wasn't
Exactly.
like
It kind of looks
crashing. It was just
like
like,
It kind of looks like a bird when they fly into like a window and then they just slide down.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Yeah, the imagery was really good in that movie for like the catastrophic things. Although the one thing that made me mad, and me and my roommate were both, when we were watching this, we were complaining about it, was the part when they were showing the wave on the beach, and that guy just stood there
Hmm.
filming it. Like, you had ample
He was
amount
like, huh.
amount of time to leave, and he's just like, as it's barreling towards him, he's just holding his phone camera filming it. And I'm like, I get that, like, it's for the dramatic effect for us, for the viewer. So you're like, you're showing the wave coming towards the person. But it was like, for realism, if you were in that situation, you're on the beach, you see a wave and you're filming. Let's say you're filming your friends and stuff like that playing on the beach, and then you're filming, and then you turn and you see this giant wave. You're not going to stand there and just be like, oh my God. Oh my God, let me film it as it gets closer and closer and closer. And now I'm going to try to run when it's right on top of me as I'm drowning and dying and flailing.
Homeboy was just like, you know what, this looks pretty cool. I may make this my iPhone background.
Like, quite literally, like, I was just like, we were just like, I just sat there and I said to my roommate, I was like, is he gonna move, or is he gonna just sit there and film this whole, okay, he's gonna film the whole wave coming at his face, like, are you serious, boy? Like, he just filmed the whole thing. And it's like, I know, again, that that's a cinematic choice that was for, like, us as the viewers to feel like immersed in the
Yeah.
terror of that scene, but it's just like, thinking about it from, it's kind of like, in the movie Us. I don't know, have you seen that movie before? Us?
Yeah,
Okay.
I've seen
You
Us.
know the part when, like, the guy is like filming, and as he's talking to like the or the TV station, and he's filming, and then like his doppelganger starts walking towards him and he just keeps filming? Like,
Mm-hmm.
again, it's like, I know that's a
Mm-hmm.
cinematic choice, but if you think about it in realism, if you see somebody that looks like you walking towards you after you just saw a bunch of people getting stabbed, you're gonna turn the other way and run. You're not gonna stand there and be like, oh my God, until he comes up and stabs you.
He's like, whoa, hold on. Can you smile? Oh, that's what I look like when I smile?
Can you strike a pose? Like, throw some peace signs up.
He probably was like, oh, I walk like
Like,
that? Oh, I know that's
ew.
what I would be like.
Or like Hermione in Harry Potter. Is that really what my head looks like from the back?
Ah, yes, and speaking of Harry Potter, we have one
Good
member of the
segue.
Golden Trio in this movie. Yeah.
Yes, Rupert Grint. Absolutely feral version of Rupert Grint, too.
Honestly.
So, I don't know if you watched the show Cabinet of Curiosities.
No, I have not.
Okay. Definitely, you should probably watch it. That's going to be something we might want to talk about, even though it's like months past, but who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
When I saw that, there's Rupert Grint is in one of those episodes in Cabinet of Curiosities, and I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a moment where he kind of has a villain moment at the end of the episode. And when I saw that moment, I was like, I really want to see him play a villain now. Like, this was before they announced Knock at the Cabin. This was before I saw he was in the movie, anything like that. So I was just kind of like, I kind of really want to see him play a villain now, because he did a really good job. Like, you could tell he was having a little bit too much fun with that role. Like, he was like, oh, I get
Yeah.
to cut loose and be a little bit, like, a little villainous. Even though he didn't do anything evil necessarily, like, you got to see that. And I feel like my appetite still wasn't fulfilled in this movie. Like, it was right there. Right there. He did a great job, not knocking him. He did a fantastic job, but there wasn't enough of him. And I'm like, yo, Rupert, get into some more horror movies. Do some more horror. Be a bad guy in more horror movies, because you've got it. You can do it. Like,
Rupert's a bad bitch.
he is. He is. He's really good at like playing like crazy, playing like feral. Like, he was absolutely feral in this movie. I was like,
Absolutely.
everyone else was so calm and nice, and they're just like,
Mm-hmm.
we hate that we have to do this, and he's just like, okay, like, okay, so can we go? Can we do this? We were wasting time. We're running
Yeah.
out of time. Hello, come on. And I'm like, he is so feral. And then when they're all introducing themselves, and it gets to him, and he's like, well, I like long walks on the beach and beer. And I'm like, I was like, oh my God, the sass.
I kind of was like, is this on your Tinder?
That's how he got his girl. He was like, I like long walks.
That's
on
how
the
he got
beach
his
and
girl.
beer, and she was like, sold. I don't even care that you were Ron Weasley. None of that matters. You like long walks on the beach and beer?
No.
I'm there.
I'm with you
Yep.
100%.
And you know, Rupert Grint is my boy and always has been, always will be. So I'm glad to see him getting in more films. He's kind of been quiet. I know he's been doing TV shows mostly and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um so it's nice to see him getting into more stuff. Like I was very excited when I saw him in Cabinet of Curiosities when he popped up in his episode. I was like, "Oh my god, Rupert." You know, like I didn't know he was going to be in it. So I was super excited about that. Um but this was, I think this also shows he can play like a villainous role, and I hope that he gets more villainous roles from this movie.
Moving forward, yeah, me too, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, I liked the movie. I thought, I mean, a lot of I heard a lot of bad things about it, but again, a lot of it stemmed from people who like read the book before they went to go watch the movie, which is a
Right.
bad idea. Never do that. If you haven't read the book, don't read the book before you go and watch the movie. Just watch the movie and then
Hmm.
read the book.
I did a little bit of digging
Hmm.
to see what the differences were between the book and the
Hmm.
movie, and like a big part about why it's better to watch the movie first is when you look at the stuff about the book, or if you go ahead and actually read the book, you're like, huh, this is interesting.
Hmm.
So this is how the movie actually should have gone. And you're not mad necessarily. Now you just feel like, oh wow, this is cool. This is interesting. Um, but I don't know, did you look at anything about the book and what happened in
I
there?
did not. I do want to read the book eventually.
Okay.
Probably like within like the next few weeks, I'll probably see if I can like find it on Kindle or something and read it. Because that's typically how I like to do things. Like my roommate has the Black Phone book, and I plan on reading that book at some point. She said it's
Oh, that'll be good.
very different from the movie. It's actually worse than the movie subject wise. And she said it's kind of
Oh, shoot.
nasty sometimes. So I'm like, oh, okay. She was like, yeah, I had to put it's like a collection of short stories. So there's like only one of the short stories they adapted for the screen, which was the one with the grabber. But she said that, yeah, some of them are really dark. So I was like, oh,
Oh,
okay. I
interesting.
was like, well, I'm interested. So she said she'd let me borrow the book so I can read it. But I want to do the same with this one. So, but yeah, you can go ahead and share it. It's all good. I'm not gonna be mad if it's spoiled.
You
I'm
sure?
sure. Yeah.
Okay, well then at this point then we should probably go ahead and let everybody know that there will be spoilers for the book. So
Spoilers
if
for
you
the
don't want
book.
the spoilers,
Absolutely.
you may want to go read it, come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the book was written in 2018 and it was called The Cabin at the End of the World.
Hmm.
So already it was a choice to change the name. And it was written by Paul Tremblay. Tremblay.
Okay.
Yes, Tremblay. Um, but let's see, what fact do I want to share first here? So, oh yeah, one of the big things that is different between the book and the movie is that Wen actually dies.
Oh wow.
Yes,
Wow.
which I I understand the impact that that would have in the story. I do like the that she stays alive because Wen's my girl.
Hmm.
Also I think she's the youngest final girl I've ever seen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Because like as soon as she stepped back in that cabin in the beginning of the movie, she was like, all right, I'm locking the doors, I'm telling my dads exactly what's going on,
Yep.
we gonna board up the house.
110%.
She was giving final girl. But yeah, so the scene in the movie, if you remember, when Leonard and Andrew are fighting over the
Hmm.
gun, that the gun actually misfires in the book and it shoots Wen.
Oh wow.
So now it's kind of like supposed to create that symbolism and everything that like an innocent has died in this entire process, and
Hmm.
um it's kind of also reminding all of them that okay, so now this girl has died, and yes, a member of the family has died, but she didn't die willingly,
Yeah.
and so they still have to choose to lose one of their own. So at the end of this, it's like only one would be on their own.
Yeah.
So it's a little it's sad, but I do understand like it brings more like realness to the situation.
It does. Yeah. It's
Yeah, I
more.
don't know, what do you think?
It sounds like it would have made it more intense. I think that there would have been a
Mhm.
lot of pushback from people who didn't read the book if they had went ahead and killed a child. People are very iffy about killing kids in movies.
Oh,
Um
absolutely.
and even though for me personally, I'm not like I'm the same way with animals. Like there are some animal movies where like if they kill an animal, it's like no, absolutely not. And then there's
Yeah.
others where it's like, well, it makes sense, or like if it forwards the plot, or like it made sense that this happened, or like whatever. Same thing with kids. There are some movies where I'm like, absolutely not with kids being killed. Like that was uncalled
Oh,
for. They
yeah.
shouldn't have done that. And then there's some where it's like, mm, like it wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
And again, I'm not a parent, so I know some people who are parents are like, I can't watch anything with kids being harmed.
absolutely.
So I think it would have pissed some people off that like our parents, like they would have watched that movie and been like, oh no, 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 you killed the little girl. Like I'm out. I can't watch this movie anymore. So I understand the
Yeah,
choice to not do that, as to not ostracize a huge chunk of your audience, because that chunk of your audience would like nope out of the movie. Like that's one of the things I think puts a lot of people off of movies. And I think that may have even been a driving factor for why a lot of people didn't want to see the movie, like in the first place. Like they saw there was a little girl
mhm.
involved, and they're like, no, there's a chance that this little girl will die. No, 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 no. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It was a good choice, so then the movie would be, essentially more, successful, more people would sit through the entirety of the movie and watch it,
absolutely.
and I honestly think that was a good choice, but I do feel like, hey, if I read the book first and then watched the movie, maybe my opinion would have been different, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Like it would have been something you were expecting to see, and then that didn't happen, and then you're like,
Yeah.
they kind of copped out on that, like
Yeah,
they kind of
yeah.
copped out. But I'm glad they didn't go that route, because even though I know it would have shocked the crap out of me, and I would have like been like, oh my god, like that upped the stakes so much more. I probably would have I could have seen like people like just being like, nope, can't watch this movie. Nope, gotta turn it off. Nope.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's just better to sometimes tread on the safe
I would
side.
have felt uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Mhm, for sure. The other thing is that, just like in the movie, Eric does choose to die,
Hmm.
and tells Andrew that he should be the one. Again, I just think boy is like, listen,
Yeah.
I ain't got much time. let's
Of course.
let's just take care of this. Put me down, he
Put me
said.
down. Yeah, take me out back. Take me out back to pasture.
To pasture. Yeah. But actually, Andrew chooses to not kill him.
Mm.
And he kind of just says something like, I don't believe what they're saying. I don't want to like repeat the exact words, but he was just like, I don't believe they're God.
Mm.
Um, and he said, let's just walk through the end of the world together,
Mm.
essentially. And so they do choose at the end of the book to go out together on their own and face the apocalypse.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Which that was interesting as well. One other thing, just really quick
Yeah, go ahead.
about the book was, as you know, in the beginning of the movie, we're catching grasshoppers, we're having fun, we're living our best nature life.
Yeah, of course.
Um, in the book, and I did not get the chance to look back and see if it was the same in the movie, but there are 7 grasshoppers that are in the jar, and there are 7 people in the cabin.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I did write down that Wen's first line in the movie, she says, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to learn about you for a little while. And I think that was kind of placing Wen as almost like God in the situation, or an
Mm.
angel of some kind.
Okay.
Um, but in the book, and I wish they did use the grasshoppers more in the movie. In the book, there is a point where Wen sees her grasshoppers in the jar and they've all died. She just didn't get back to them because, there's a home invasion going on.
Right.
And so it was just kind of like an act of God. Like maybe they lost the oxygen in the jar or something like that, but they all die, and it's kind of saying with how the book goes is that no one's going to make it out of this alive, because Wen does eventually die and the dads are going into the apocalypse, which means that they probably won't make it in the end either.
Yeah.
So it's symbolism, and I wish in some kind of way they would have used the grasshoppers
Oh, okay.
um, for more symbolism in the movie.
Okay. All right. Well, that's
Yeah.
very interesting. Very interesting. Um all right. Well, to wrap up this little review that we did of Knock at the Cabin, how many skulls out of 5 would you award Knock at the Cabin overall, and why?
Mm, I would give Knock at the Cabin 3.5 skulls out of 5. And I'll put it this way, there were some things that didn't make sense to me. That's why I would give it the rating, mainly it being when they get into Redmond's car at the end. He has the song loaded up that they were listening to in the beginning of the movie.
Mhm.
And I just don't know if this like homophobic yeehaw guy would be listening to disco in his car.
No, I don't think he would be listening to Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Yeah, I don't know. I found that to be a little a red flag for me. I was like, plot hole.
Yeah, maybe he had some closeted, ideals, and that's why he attacked them. He
Ooh.
was like, "I want to put on my boogie shoes."
You know what? I like that more.
um okay, so that's a good solid rating. I would say I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5 skulls. Um
Hmm,
I enjoyed the movie. Um it was definitely somewhat anxiety inducing at some point in time. I do, however, feel like I don't know. I guess I don't feel like it was like a strong, solid, like it was a good movie, but I feel like it was kind of like a little lackluster at times for me. It got a little
hmm.
boring in some parts. Um, and I don't know. I guess I just didn't feel the threat as much. Like, I know the threat was essentially like the end of the world, but I
Yeah.
guess I didn't feel the threat as much as like one would, hope that you would feel it. But yeah, no, I that's kind of what I how I feel about that movie. It's just I feel like I'd give it like a 3 out of 5.
Yeah. I mean, I would put it on in the background if I was doing something else. That's how I see the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. It's not a bad movie. I definitely would suggest you guys watch it for yourselves and see if you agree with us, if you like it more than we did, if you like it less than we did, or if you're kind of in the same position. It is available on Peacock to watch if you have Peacock, um give it a watch. It's not a super long movie. It's not very gory. They actually cut away from a lot of the gorier scenes. It's left up to your imagination. So if you're somebody who can't really sit through a lot of blood, guts, and gore, that's always a good thing to think about. So yeah, that was our review of Knock at the Cabin from M. Night Shyamalan.
Ah, King.
All right, so we are going to get into our fun part. We call this the fun part of the podcast, even though all of it's fun. But this is not based on one specific movie, it's based on all different types of subjects. So this week's subject that we're going to be going over, since Gina is new here. Um,
I am.
yes, you are. Well, you're new to the podcast.
I know, I'm just
I
joking.
know. Um, we're going to talk about our 5 all-time favorite horror movies. Uh Figured 5 was a good easy point for it. We can kind of go through and talk about them, and talk about why we love them and everything. I know I've talked about a lot of these movies. I'm pretty sure I've talked about all these movies on my podcast on my list. Um but I'll just sort of talk about them a little bit here too. So now I'm going to turn it over to Gina, and she's going to talk about her first favorite scary movie. We'll go like back and forth. You can talk about your first one.
I like that. Yeah. Um, Are we going in any particular order or?
However you want to do it. If you want to start with your least favorite, most favorite, or just random, you don't really care, that's fine.
Okay, yeah. I guess I'll start like from least favorite to most favorite.
Okay.
So my number 5 on my list is Your Next.
Mm, it's a good movie.
This was the first horror movie I saw when I was in college. It was like a big, like the entire freshman class went to the movies, and I think we had 2 movies to choose between, and I'm like, oh, I'm going for the horror movie.
Mm.
Um, and I loved it so much. Being someone who loves slashers, and I really feel like this movie features the ultimate final girl
Oh
in a
yeah.
lot of ways.
Oh yeah. That girl's insane.
It was just like, I don't know. It had its funny moments,
Mhm.
I feel, like where the movie kind of didn't take itself too seriously. And then it had its moments where you're like, I'm kind of learning some survival skills here. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
for once, I wasn't yelling at the screen, like, you're an idiot. Why are you doing that?
Exactly. No, that's a good movie. Your Next is a very good movie. Um, okay, so for mine, I guess for my number 5 pick that I would, put on there for my favorite horror movie would be The Grudge. Um,
Mm,
I've sort of called this list my comfort horror movies because these are the horror movies that I've watched so many times that they, well, except for one of them still scares the crap out of me. Um, but The Grudge is a horror movie that I was terrified to watch when it first came out. I had nightmares about it frequently, just from the trailer
I
alone.
remember this.
I remember like being at one of my friends' houses to stay the night, and we were sleeping, and we had the TV on, and the trailer came on right after she fell asleep, and I was still wide awake, and I was like, nope, nope, I will not be able to sleep now because I'm gonna just see this woman's face crawling down the staircase as she crawls down the staircase. And then I finally watched the movie when it came on HBO like a year later, and I loved it. I was like, this movie is campy. I mean, it's Sam Raimi, he's
Yeah.
camp. It's campy. Um you've got Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it can't go wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course I fell in love with Kayako. I fell absolutely in love with her, and now I've seen pretty much every Grudge movie that's ever been made. So um
Yes.
I absolutely love The Grudge, and yeah, I it got me majorly into J horror. It's like the movie that kind of opened the door for me to go down the rabbit hole to the more disturbing and twisted J horror movies that exist out there, because that's my favorite genre of horror movies is J horror. I love Japanese horror.
Okay.
I love Asian horror in general, but mostly Japanese horror, and those movies are wild. They're a good time. They're a scary time, but yeah, the Grudge would be my number 5 pick.
I love that, honestly. Kayako. I mean, we're always talking about her.
She's a queen. She's a queen.
She's a queen. She's an icon, and I mean, I would love to meet her hairstylist.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how she gets it all over the place, in different rooms, everything, but we stand.
What growth serum is she using?
I need it on my edges. Shit.
And if not, like, let me see that wig.
Right?
It's a good wig. Lace front.
Lace front. Yeah, she got that lace front. Laid it flat.
Laid it flats. Okay, well then I guess I'll go to my number 4, which mentioned earlier would be Signs.
All right.
I think this was the first one I've ever watched. I could be wrong though.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember us watching it together, sleepovers. This one we watched quite a few
Oh yeah.
times, and we ripped this movie apart, and I loved every moment of it.
Oh yeah. Move, children. Vamonos.
The freaking alien coming out looking like Sasquatch, like
Looking like he about to drop the hottest mixtape of 2003.
girl, bruh, I can't. Um, and then what was it? Oh, the beginning of the movie, the little leg coming out in the cornfield.
Oh yeah, the leg coming out in the cornfield. Yep, yep, yeah. This movie has so many
uh,
memeable moments. It really does.
yes, it really does. And like us as children, we really just like had a field
Oh
day
yeah.
making fun of this movie.
Although I don't know if I'll ever be able to watch that movie again because of Rory Culkin. If anybody listening to this has seen the show Swarm, you know what I'm talking about. I'm just
Ooh, that's on my watch list.
I don't know. I can't look at Rory Culkin the same. I can't even watch Scream 4 now because every time I look at him I'm just like, ah. But yeah, no, it's a good movie. Science is a good movie.
It's a really good movie. I actually have two fun facts for
All
Signs really
right.
quick.
Okay.
Just like when prepping for the podcast. The first one is that Mark Ruffalo was supposed to play Joaquin Phoenix's character in the movie.
Oh my god. That would have been an interesting role. I would love to hear him say that line. Move, children. Vamonos.
Vamonos.
Come on, Mark. Drop the audition tape.
Honestly though, we would love to see it. But yeah, he was apparently supposed to play, I think he had to get some kind of surgery, and that is
Mm.
like at the time of filming, so that's what prevented him from being a part of the movie,
Ah.
the final cut, whatever you call it in movie terms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then my other fact is this was actually the first movie to start filming after the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Oh, wow. Wow.
They started filming September 12th, 2001.
That was like right after the attacks.
Right
They
after.
were like, we're not going to wait a month. We're not going to wait like a year. No, the next
Heck
day.
no. And so when that happened, the rest of Hollywood's like, I guess we can too.
M. Night Shyamalan said,
We
I don't
weren't
care.
first.
He said, I don't care. I got a production schedule to follow.
He's like, listen, I made Sixth Sense, so like I can kind of do whatever I want.
Unbreakable. Like, have you guys seen Unbreakable? Okay.
Mm.
Which is a
Do you know who
fantastic
I am?
movie. Unbreakable is a fantastic movie.
And then he made Avatar, and then everything was ruined.
He made that Lady in the Water or whatever the heck that is.
Oh my gosh, I forgot that one.
So,
yeah.
so glad Bryce Dallas Howard like got out from under him. He was like about to make her his muse, and she was just like, "Nope, I'm out. I'm out."
Peace.
But yeah, no. All right. Okay, so my number 4 pick that I would throw out here would be The Ring. The Ring was the first horror movie that I've ever seen. I saw it when I was 11. Scared the absolute shit out of me when I was 11 years old, to the point where me and my dumbass friends were calling each other going 7 days for like a week. Literally like a week. It was like every day someone was calling somebody going 7 days. I'm like, yeah, at this point it's been a week. Like
7 days from when?
7 days from when? From when I
Are we restarting?
Yeah. I've seen this movie so many times I can actually pinpoint. Now I don't know if you know this. You can actually after Naomi Watts' character Rachel watches the videotape, as the movie goes on, you actually will see intercut scenes, and not just like the obvious ones, like when she looks at the ladder, it cuts to like the VHS. The VHS is actually playing almost the entire time throughout the film. So it's like quick cut scenes. But I've seen the movie so many times I can catch them all, almost all of them now.
Okay, I think I've only seen it like 2 or 3 times,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna have to like go back and look into
yeah,
that.
yeah. And if you look it up online, there's like a list of where it shows you every single like little like intercut in between scenes. Like they'll just throw like a frame from the cursed videotape, so you're almost always watching the cursed videotape.
Okay.
One of the main reasons I love The Ring, and I've talked about this before on my podcast because I literally did an episode of Ringu, which is the Japanese original, versus The Ring. It is the only J-horror remake that is remade beat for beat. It's literally pretty much the
Mm.
same movie. However, where it differs is that it leans in harder on the scares. I actually fell asleep watching the Japanese version of the movie because there's not that many scares. It almost comes off as like a crime thriller until the end when she comes off the TV. So like the entire movie is just basically like a crime thriller. They're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And I
Okay.
also
Yeah.
absolutely hated the ex-husband in the Japanese version because he was just obnoxious. He was rude and like I don't know. I didn't like him. Um, but they lean in on the scares a lot more in the American version, and them Americanizing the curse, the Samara's curse, made the movie more unique. The reason, like, I love The Grudge, but one of my biggest problems as I've aged and I've like sort of, you sort of become more woke, you become more woke. I know people are going to hate that word, but as you learn more, as you grow more, one of my biggest problems was the whole sending a white woman to Japan to deal with a Japanese curse, which became
Yes.
kind of the norm for all of the remakes. Like not all the remakes. I should say like two out of like two, there's like two more remakes where they did this, and it bothered me because I'm like, why are you sending white people over to Japan and just being like, Japan's scary? Like, no, Japan's not scary. Like, you could have taken The Grudge and done it in the United States with an American ghost, which they tried to do with the 2020 version of The Grudge, and it was just garbage. Um,
Yeah, I remember that.
um, but The Ring, what made The Ring so good was that they were like, okay, yeah, we're gonna nail this. We're gonna take that story of that character of Sadako, we're going to Americanize it. We're going to bring it over to the United States, have the whole, like, everybody, it's going to make more sense. Um, and we're going to still hit all the same beats that the Japanese version does. So we're not losing any of the integrity of the Japanese version. We're just, I guess you could say whitewashing it, but not really whitewashing it because it's taking place in America. It is taking place in
Mm-hmm.
America. Um, and then DeVay Chase, absolutely terrifying, absolutely terrifying. um I honestly was so scared of her that for a while I could not watch Lilo and Stitch when I found out that she was the voice of Lilo. I couldn't watch Lilo and Stitch because she scared me so much. And then I watched Lilo and Stitch, and now when I watch The Ring, all I hear is Lilo. So it's kind of weird. I just picture Lilo sitting in that room like, but I do, and I'm sorry. It won't stop. And I'm like, yeah, that's something Lilo would say.
This is your badness meter.
She's like, just leave me alone to die.
Yeah.
Just picture Samara saying that. Just leave me alone to
Honestly,
die.
though, big mood, big mood.
So yeah, no, I mean, I love The Ring. That's a comfort movie to me for horror, if that makes any sense. And I've seen it way too many times at this point in my life.
No, I'm with you 100% there. Like, I mean, I have not watched it as much as you, but I get the idea of comfort horror movies,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of segues into my next one.
Okay, take it away.
This is definitely the one that I put on at night when everything's dark. Um
Okay.
it's Paranormal Activity. Um
That's a comfort
this
horror movie that comforts you?
yeah. Yeah, it's like a sweet lullaby. It's a kiss goodnight.
Oh my
I'm
god.
actually really salty because they just took it off of Amazon Prime yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. The entire franchise is on Paramount Plus, so the entire
You know
franchise.
what? I haven't gone digging around my Paramount Plus,
Yeah,
so
the entire Paranormal Activity franchise is on Paramount Plus because I started watching all of them again because I hadn't seen them in years. I got halfway through the second movie and started to fall asleep, and I was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna wait."
see? Comfort.
Well, that's because the second movie is bad, like really bad.
And comforting. This was my introduction to found footage hoarder
Hoarder.
horror. um yeah, I don't know, I just love the idea of listening to two people argue with each other for like an hour and 40 minutes or so. Um,
You
and
must love the Blair
I
Witch
don't know.
Project.
I have never seen the Blair Witch Project because that one is a lot of running with the camera, which makes me a little
Oh.
motion sick. But I am willing to give that a try. If it's for this podcast, I am willing to give that a
I
try.
mean, the entire movie is just people arguing with each other. That's literally all it is.
Sounds brilliant to me. I just love the tea. I love just being like, oh my god, are they gonna get a divorce? Which I don't think they're actually married. They're boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
But
They're gonna break up. Are they gonna break up?
are they gonna break up over
Over a
this? Oh my god,
Ouija
the
board?
demon is tearing them apart. Seriously, bro, the Ouija board fight,
She was
it was a cultural reset.
she was about to leave his ass for that Ouija board. She was like, you brought a Ouija board in the house? Get out. Get out of my house right
Mm-mm.
now.
But first, let's go on this date. You paying for dinner, and then after that, you need to pack your things and go.
No wonder she killed him at the
You
end.
leave me and my demon alone.
The demon's like, I know you didn't just buy a Ouija board after she told you to leave me alone.
He's like, that's so rude to me culturally. Culturally? No, it was, I don't know. I freaking love it. I remember all my friends at school talking about how the ending was so terrifying when her face changes. And then I watched it and I was like, no, that wasn't terrifying. That was beautiful. She has a gorgeous smile. Why are we shaming her?
Well, you see, that ending did scare me the first time I watched it, but that's because I wasn't expecting it. No one told me what happened in the movie, so like I just was
That's
watching it,
true.
and then that happened, and I was like flew back. I was like, I think I watched it like in the daytime too, because I was like too scared to watch it at night, and
Mm.
yeah, no, it's still scared the crap out of me.
It's a beautiful
But
smile.
now,
I
yeah,
like
now
it.
I watched it
It's
recently, and I was like, oh, it's not that scary actually.
it gives Jim Carrey Grinch.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
It gives him, which I was afraid of too. So
Yeah, that's true. Me too, actually. That's the first horror movie I've ever seen.
we'll save that for another podcast because I do have an idea for a different episode, but I'll talk about it after this with you when we're done recording. But we'll save that for
Heck
another
yeah.
podcast.
Heck yeah. Would you like to talk about your number 3?
Okay, so for my next three, I'm only going to talk about one right now, but for our next three, there's no real order, because I love all three of these movies equally, but for different reasons. And but for this sake, the one I'm going to put it in third place. My third favorite horror movie is Hereditary. Um, Hereditary has one of the has the distinct honor of being one of the few movies that scared me from start to finish. And because of that, I freaking love it. I love that movie so much. I've watched it multiple times. I've put it on and watched it like as a comfort movie almost. I still can't really call it a comfort movie because um, I can't deal with the scene with some of the scenes in the movie. Some of the scenes are just too intense for me. Um, Ari Aster is a genius. I love Midsommar, but I don't really count that as a horror movie. That's more of like a good for her movie. Like, good for you. Good for you. You went to Sweden. You drank the Kool-Aid. You killed your boyfriend. Like,
I love how that's a good for her movie. I've never heard that.
there's a whole genre. Carrie is part of the good for her genre. Jennifer's Body's
Truth.
part of the good for her
Mm.
genre. Midsommar. Those are like the three. Like, it's the good for her movies. That's what they call them.
We should do an episode and just title it "Good for Her," and we just talk about those
We
three.
should. We should. We probably will. But yeah, Hereditary. The best thing about Hereditary is now I am a glutton for punishment. Whenever someone tells me this is the scariest movie I've ever seen, you absolutely have to watch it. It ruined my entire life. I'm like, okay, I'll watch it. Well,
Play.
let me see. I did that with that stupid movie Antrum that was making the rounds in 2020 on TikTok, where everyone was claiming that it killed people that when they watched it. I watched it. I'm still alive, but I watched that when it was on Amazon Prime. Very bad movie. The only part that was really scary was there was like a shot of like a demon that they just like it was a freeze frame shot just like on the screen looking at you, and it just went on for way too long to a point where you're like, okay, I'm kind of uncomfortable that I'm making eye contact with this demon. Like, please stop. Please go to something else. You're still staring at me. It's weird. I don't like it.
Like, can you go
Can you
somewhere?
go do something with yourself? Like,
Take a
do you
picture,
have
it lasts
don't you have
longer.
someone to possess? Like, don't you have someone to possess?
Yeah, come on. You must have something to do. Like, it's about that time.
Exactly. So that's kind of like my thing. Whenever someone tells me that a movie was like the most terrifying movie they ever seen, or like when I see online where people are like articles are like people couldn't even finish this movie. I'm like, play finishes it. Well, that was a waste of an hour. um Hereditary was one of those movies that one of my friends was like, I went to go visit her and she was like, this movie scared the absolute shit out of me, and I was like, okay, whatever. We sat down, we watched it, and from start to finish I was just like, this is low key quite terrifying. This is low key horrifying. I hate this movie. By the end of the movie I was so shaken up that like I went to go to sleep that night, and I actually had to ask my friend for a power cord to hook up my laptop so I could watch TV in my room, because there was no TV in her room that I was sleeping in. That's how scared I was. The night before that, I slept with no TV. I slept perfectly fine. I had no lights on, nothing in the darkness. That after we watched Hereditary, no, I need a nightlight. I need TV. It was so bad I put on Friends. That's how scared I was. I put on
Ugh.
Friends. I was like, I need
I'm sorry to anyone who likes Friends, but
I was like, I need to watch something that is so like Friends is like white noise to me. Like I don't hear it when I put it on. I don't hear it. It's like I don't know what's going on. It's just white noise. So I was like, I need to watch something so banal that I don't like. I just it gets Hereditary out of my mind. I still think Toni Collette was robbed an Oscar that year. She 110% should have won an Oscar for Hereditary, because that scene, the I am your mother scene at the table, the dinner table, iconic. I've never
mm,
watched a movie where I felt like
hmm
that feeling, like when you're at your friend's house and their parents start yelling at them. I've never watched a movie that gave me that feeling. Like, while like you watch movies where parents are yelling at their kids and you're just like, no, that Toni Collette in that scene, I felt like I was like, okay, I want to go home. I want to go home. Like, your mom's mad at you. I want to go home.
I want to go
Like, I
home.
want to go home. And yeah, it definitely like cemented like Ari Aster as like one of the horror geniuses of our generation. Like, that movie's very good. I can watch it now without like it totally traumatizing me, but it still gets under my
hmm
skin in certain points. I still can't watch the ending with the piano wire like straight on, because it's just the noise is too gruesome. The noise is too like I'm like,
Yeah,
ah.
no.
But yeah, so that's my number 3 pick, is Hereditary.
Okay. Okay. I like to hear it. I like to hear it. My number two.
Number 2.
um, Number two is the first Saw movie.
Hey, Saw.
Another one where you mainly just have two people arguing with each other.
Mhm.
And again, I'm getting a lot of tea, and I'm just living for it
Oh
the
yeah,
entire time.
absolutely.
I just love the fact that this was like a really, really low budget movie that ended up like becoming a really long series.
Still going. They're apparently still making more.
The 10th installment should be coming out this year, and I am living for it.
Bless.
You're like, good for
I mean,
you.
good for you. I'm not a Saw fan, except for I do love the first movie, but I'm not a Saw fan.
It is. The first movie, I wish the rest of the movies were a bit more like the first one,
Me
where,
too.
you're getting that huge twist at the end. I will say, I have to laugh with every installment. I feel like the twist music just starts earlier. The da-na-na, da-na-na, da-na-na.
They're getting you prepared. They're getting you like amped up. They're like, a twist is coming. A twist is coming.
It's like the first one is maybe like, I don't know, I'm guessing here, but like you got the last 10 minutes of the movie, and so that's when they're doing the twist music. And like as we're getting along in the movies, we're like, for 40 minutes we've been hearing this like orchestra just like go at it.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. That's so funny.
But yeah, I don't know. It was one where I really did not see the twist coming. I was sitting there with my mouth just like wide open, just in shock. And I just thought it was really smart with the budget that they had, and I really appreciated that about the
Hmm.
movie.
Oh yeah. That iconic moment, game over. Closing the door. I was like, holy shit, dude, when I saw that the first time. Jaw was on the floor. Yeah, no, that was definitely one of the best plot twists in a horror movie.
I am team Adam deserved better though,
Mm.
because the whole the key was is in the bathtub, and then Adam's like the the opening scene of the movie is him pulling the plug and the key going down the drain.
I
So
know. Uh that's so rough. All right.
he deserved better.
All right.
Yeah, and then
My
we're down to your number
my
two.
number 2, yeah. All right, so my number 2, I'm wearing a shirt of it. The OG Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984, from New Line Cinema, the house that Freddy built. I absolutely love Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger is one of my favorite slashers. He's not my all-time favorite slasher, unfortunately, but he is one of my favorite slashers. Um, I remember seeing like a clip from this movie when they used to do this thing called 100 Scariest Movie Moments on AMC back in the day. And the clip I actually saw was like the scene where Tina's being attacked by Freddy and she's climbing up the wall. And I was like, I don't like that. That's scary. That was also the first haunted house that I ever went through. When I decided I was brave enough to go through haunted houses again, and I was not brave enough to go through haunted houses. I was terrified throughout that entire house, and I called my sister and said I wanted to go home.
I'm gonna go home.
Yep, literally, I want to go home. Um, yeah, made her come and pick me up from Universal Studios, like walk into the park to come and get me because I was too scared to go through any more haunted houses after that one. It was a really good haunted house though, the
Dang.
Nightmare on Elm Street one.
I think I'm having like vague memories of like when you came home that weekend and you called me on the phone, and because like you used to give me your haunted house reviews.
Yeah, I did. I did. Now I could give you actual haunted house reviews because I keep my eyes open.
What? What's that like?
I mean, you were there with me last year, so
And you know how I am. I just tell them all off.
you did. You told them all off, and my niece kind of like made you her designated like hand holder.
Hand holder, throat holder really was more of the thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
By the end of it, she
yes.
was
Yeah, she was
piggybacking.
like climbing on your back. I thought you were gonna have to carry her through the haunted houses.
And meanwhile, I'm just sitting there and I'm screaming in like Michael Myers' face, and I'm like, "You stay away from her!
Like, you don't touch her.
She's just a baby."
He's like, hey, as long as she's not doing anything, I won't touch her.
Okay.
But no, like getting back to Nightmare on Elm Street, like I finally watched this movie for the first time when I was like 17. I think it was like my last Halloween that I ever went trick or treating. And right after we went trick or treating, we came home and watched like a bunch of horror movies, and Nightmare on Elm Street was one of them. And from that point forward, I was just like, dude, I rock with Freddy. I rock with Freddy Krueger. He's a G. He's awesome. He's amazing. I've seen every single movie, including the remake. I don't hate the remake as much as other people do. I have my problems with it, but but
Yeah.
the original one is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. And fun fact, the second horror movie, there is the second Nightmare on Elm Street movie. There's actually a documentary on Shudder about the lead actor who played the main character in that movie, and his career, and how that movie, because that movie, I don't know if you know this, it is actually considered a gay icon movie. There's a lot of homoerotic subtext in the film. Um, if you ever watch it and watch it back, it's loud and clear. It's very obvious. And
I'm
the
living.
movie essentially ruined the lead actor's life until the gay community embraced the movie, and then he got a massive resurgence, and they like he started going to cons, he started going to like drag shows and like doing interviews. Like, it's a really good documentary. It's on Shudder. It's called Scream Queen, and they just like they go through his
Okay.
whole life, like when he what he did when he was starting out, how he got the role, and then like how he wasn't out because of course this is when the movie came out, this was in the height of the AIDS crisis, so he couldn't really be an
Hmm.
out gay actor. And yeah, he it like ruined his life, but then it like gave him his life back at the end because the gay community was like, we love this movie. And it actually gave me a whole new appreciation because I used to hate that movie. I used to hate the second Nightmare on Elm Street, but now I kind of
Hmm.
love it. I kind of love it. I'm just like,
I really love that it is like an iconic movie for the LGBT
yeah,
community.
absolutely. Me too. And I think that's great that they embraced him and he found his home within the community now from a movie that had given him so much like trauma. Like now he kind of like
Yeah.
reversed that trauma and he gets to like enjoy it. So um
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really interesting documentary. If you're ever able to get your hands on Shudder, I would absolutely highly recommend it. They have great horror documentaries on Shudder. They have one about the original not the original oh my god, why am I blanking on his name? Hold on a second. He played Jason in a few of the Friday the 13th movies. Um, hold on a second.
Oh. Oh damn. I should know this.
Um, Jason Voorhees. I know there's like a bunch of what's his name? What's his name? Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder. They have an
Yes.
entire documentary about Kane Hodder on Shudder as well.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm gonna subscribe.
Yeah, Shudder's great. You can actually add it to your Amazon subscription if you're able to do that. You can
Oh,
add it to.
okay. I
That's how
will
I have it.
actually do
That's how
that.
I have Shudder is through my Amazon subscription. So that's a little tidbit for all of our listeners too. If you have Amazon Prime, you can also add Shudder onto your Amazon Prime, so you can watch all the cool documentaries that they have on there. So yeah, that's my number two horror
Sweet.
movie.
Alrighty. I guess we're down to my number one now. Um, goes into a little bit of what we just talked about. My favorite is Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Hey, he's back here, Jason.
Hey, Jason.
Jason.
Different reference, but
Yeah.
for my Heavy Rain fans out there.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Heavy rain.
Heavy Rain. But yes, my favorite is Friday the 13th. Kind of like how I said earlier in the podcast, I just love the whole let's get a bunch of idiot teenagers together and find creative ways to kill them.
Of course.
um, so yeah, I mean, you got Kevin Bacon in this movie.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing for a completely different reason because the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, their Mantis was running around screaming Kevin Bacon because she was chasing him, and it was just the funniest thing. So every time I hear his name, I just hear her screaming Kevin Bacon in the background.
I missed that last Christmas, so I'm fully prepared to watch it
Oh
this
yeah,
coming
you
Christmas.
have to. It's so freaking funny. Like it's hilarious. And when she's chasing him through the house and she's like screaming, she's like, "Kevin Bacon!" Like that's how she's screaming. It's so funny. So every time you'll hear that every single time you see him anywhere, you'll be like hearing hearing her scream that. Oh my god, it's so funny.
I freaking love her. Okay, yeah, it's iconic.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say that the next time I watch Friday the 13th, which is
Yes.
probably after I film this.
Oh yeah.
Um, well, I'll probably be like Kevin Bacon.
100%.
Yeah, no, this movie is just like I don't know. I feel like it really set the tone for a lot of movies that we see today, and even like video games that we play today, like The Quarry and Until Dawn.
Mhm.
Those give strong Friday the 13th vibes to me.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I just feel like it was like a catalyst for the whole slasher and it feeling kind of campy, and you're mainly watching it just for the creative
Oh
deaths,
yeah.
or seeing Jason like suplex somebody.
He has some of the best like kills in any horror movies ever. I mean, all I got to say is in Jason Takes Manhattan, punching a guy's head clean off his shoulders. A guy who tried to
So we're
box
going to
him.
review. We are going to review Jason Takes
We
Manhattan.
might have to do that one for our bad movie of the month or something like
Oh,
that.
yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that'll be over on our Patreon when we're a little bit. That'll be a little bit more adult. We might have like wine or something. So and you guys can check it out there.
Not us staying hydrated with our water right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, no, that'll be amazing. Betsy Palmer as Pamela Voorhees. I loved her. Like from the first time I watched her, I just really loved her performance.
Hmm.
I love her fight scene at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Her death with the little bit of like the like flashing but kind of slow-mo, like head getting chopped off. Like 1 minute she has a neck and the next minute it's gone, you know?
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
um it's all around good. I have great memories of playing the Friday the 13th video game with you, and us just kind of playing it like a weird hide and seek, like we're just casually having conversation like we are right now, and then suddenly the power goes off for one of us.
I still remember the time we were playing that game, and I was Jason. I was helping you fix the car. Um I was going around breaking all the doors in the cabin so you could get in there easily and find the parts. And then you fixed the car completely. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy for you. Slams into the car and breaks it. And just does the kill on you. You were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, you thought I was going to let you get away? Like, like, you really thought I was going to let you just drive off into the sunset? No, I told you I'd help you fix the car. I never told you I'd help you leave.
Oh my
It was a
gosh.
good
Yeah, you're
time.
kind of the worst Jason
I was,
ever.
or the time when we were playing with my playing the game with my brother, and I jumped out the window on top of him when he was Jason,
Yes.
and he was like,
I
"Who
feel like
just
we were
did
kind
that?"
of we were both kind of going against him.
We were, but I was like, I heard the door break, and I thought he was inside the cabin, and I just jumped out the window, and then all of a sudden he stabs me, and he's like, "Who just jumped out the window at me?" And I'm like, "That was me," and he's like, "You're stupid."
You dumb.
Oh my
I feel
god.
like we were kind of like coordinating. If I remember, I think we were kind of coordinating with each other, and we're like, okay, we're gonna take him down, and it didn't
We
work. But
tried. He was too good for us, but
he was too good for us.
yeah.
But yeah, that is my number one favorite horror movie. I can put that on at any time, watch it from beginning to end, and yeah, I freaking love this movie. Even though Jason's not in it until like I
The
guess
second
like 2
one.
seconds at the end.
Yeah, just 2 seconds at the end,
I,
yeah. And we
yeah.
don't know
But
for sure if that was like a dream or not.
exactly. So like, up for debate. But
Mhm. Of course.
um ultimately, I do love the movie. Big Mama Pam, she was holding it down for us until, Jason could go ahead and hold on, before she passed the mantle to Jason for him to handle things for the next, like, 3,000
Oh
movies.
yeah, still to this day there's going to be more coming out soon, so
I am living.
absolutely. All right. My number one pick, my favorite horror movie of all time. This is a movie I can put on at any time. I watch it multiple times. I know the movie inside and out, can recite it pretty much by heart. And that movie is the very first Scream movie.
How did I know this?
You know, because you know me so well. Scream is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I watch it multiple times. In fact, right before Scream 6 came out, I just went through watching all five again. But the first Scream, it has a place in my heart. Love Skeet Ulrich. Love Skeet Ulrich in that movie. So gorgeous. Like, just
Yummy.
I know he's the bad guy, but and then Matthew Lillard at his Matthew Lillardness. Like, I mean, I have a soft spot for Matthew Lillard. Like, I really do. I just like, he's Shaggy, like I have a soft spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's absolutely so good in that movie, and there's just so much, like,
He is really good.
he's so good. He's so, like, crazed and just having a good and I love that he added that line in there that I've always had a thing for you, Sid, because he had a crush on Nev Campbell in real life. Like, oh my god, like I love that. He just the performances are so great. It's one of Wes Craven's best movies. I don't care what anybody says. Who cares about Last House on the
I agree.
Left? Everyone's like, "Oh, Last House on the Left is no.
Who?
Last House on the Left is like torture porn essentially. It was a very hard to watch movie. It's a good
Yeah,
movie, but very hard to watch.
good movie.
But that but Scream is, it makes fun of the genre. It makes fun of the fans of the genre. And then it has, in my opinion, one of like the best final girls, because Sydney Prescott is a badass bitch. You like the
Absolutely.
only one that rivals her is Laurie Strode in the badassery. Like the only one
Oh,
that rivals her.
absolutely.
Like Sydney Prescott has solidified her name as I will end you. Like try me. I've been through this how many times? Try me.
Yes.
Try me.
Try me.
And Scream 6 was fantastic. It's my second favorite of the series. Um and I can definitely say that the both Tara and Sam, the sisters, they're gonna be given um Sydney a run for her money, but I do have a feeling that Sam might be a little bit more like her father than a final
Mm-hmm.
girl. So I don't know. We'll
I
see.
think so
We'll
as
see.
well.
And I'm
Yep.
loving the angle. I'm loving the angle.
It's really
Not so much
good.
loving the really bad de-aging effects on Skeet Ulrich in the mirror and stuff like that. I'm like, you could have just had a voiceover. You could have just had him do a voiceover. Like he's a good looking guy, like even still to this day. But like they're trying to age him down to when he was like in his 20s. I'm like, dude's in his 40s. Like let him be old. Like you could just have him do a voiceover. We didn't need to see his face. We didn't need to see his face. Like it just looks weird. He looks old but young at the same time, and I'm like, it's creepy. But um, but yeah, I know the movie Scream by heart. I quote it quite frequently.
Yes, you do.
Especially my favorite quote always is um what you would call it, movies don't create psychos, movies make psychos more creative. I love that. Or even like what you call it, the one that I always say like to my roommate and stuff like that. Whenever she says like I'll be right back, I'll be like, see, you see, I'll see you in the kitchen. I'll see you in the kitchen later with a butcher knife. Luckily, she's seen Scream, so she knows where that's from.
Exactly,
So she's like, I'll be right
exactly.
back. I'm like, yeah, you break the rules and then you end up dying. I'll see you in the kitchen later with the butcher knife.
Mm-hmm.
she like
Mm-hmm.
she like it's just a little thing. It's like, yep. But I love Scream. Can watch that movie all the time. It's usually one of my seminal Halloween movies. I put it on every Halloween and I watch it. But yeah, no, I love that movie.
You've got to have those staples that you just, watch during October.
Oh yeah. And I mean, like, obviously you watch like Halloween and stuff like that, but I feel like this is like
Oh, of
Scream
course.
is just like a comforting movie. And to be fair, I was the first time I watched it, I was scared of Ghostface. I did find Ghostface to be pretty scary. Until I realized that it was Billy and Stu, and then I was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I knew it was Billy. Like I figured that out like early on, but I didn't expect Stu. Like that was the moment my jaw dropped, was when Stu came out of the kitchen and he was like, "Surprise, Sydney." I was like, "Stu, no!" I was
What?
like, "Not Shaggy." It's like Billy was too obvious. He was too weird. He was like too obvious,
Mm-hmm.
but
It was a good
Stu
moment.
was like a genuine surprise. So yeah, that's my number one favorite horror movie of all time, Scream.
I think that's fantastic. I mean, I already knew that it was your
You knew that,
favorite,
yeah?
just like you knew my
Oh
favorite.
yeah, I knew your favorite.
But
Talk about Jason all the time. I distinctly
Jason.
remember when I worked at Spirit, you being like, me being like, oh, they have horror movie snow globes. You'd be like, get me the Jason one.
Not asking, telling, demanding.
I did get it for you though.
You did, and I still have it to this day.
Yay, good. I'm glad. I still have my Freddy and my Michael Myers one. So
Heck
all
yeah.
right. Well, it looks like that is going to be all the time that we have for today. Um, do you have any other thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
Just thanks for inviting me on to here. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait to record again. I'll have less nerves that time.
You got the first show
Hopefully.
jitters out. You got the first show jitters out.
Exactly, yeah. I was like low key, I blacked out a couple of times out of fear. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
You did amazing.
I'm a failure.
You did amazing. I mean, to be fair, the first podcast episode I ever recorded, I had strep throat and was hopped up on so many antibiotics that I didn't even know what was going on.
Bruh.
It was like beginning of the pandemic. I'm like, well, I guess I'll do this with my free time.
I mean, hey, you know what? It brought you here today.
Exactly.
And now I'm here with you, and I'm totally honored, and I can't wait to see where this takes us. I can't wait to have just like an hour set aside to have fun horror movie conversations with you.
Absolutely. And I'm really glad to have you. If you're listening right now, everybody give it up for Gina. She's my cousin. She's going to be here. From now on, doing these episodes with me. You know, hopefully, as long as nothing happens, you know, everything should be good. You know, she just like she gets laryngitis.
Walk out the front door and I was gonna say that like Jason just goes ahead and chops my head off.
Yeah, that could happen. You never know. He's always chilling outside somebody's cabin.
I mean, he's always looking through my window.
Bless. No, but yes, yeah, I'm really glad to have her on. I'm really glad to have you on and have you doing this with me. I think that this has been a really fun night getting this podcast up and running and getting this episode out there. So thank you again for joining me tonight in this episode.
Absolutely. It's an honor. And I'm happy to be here.
Right.
But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much again for listening to today's episode.
If you like what you hear and are afraid to miss an episode, you can catch us every Wednesday at noon over on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you choose to listen.
You can catch up with us over on Instagram and TikTok at Dial H for Horror Podcast. And feel free to check out our Patreon for exclusive content under the same name. Once again, I've been Shay.
And I've been Gina.
Be safe out there, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Stay spooky.